All right, we'll try this again. Let me know if you see me and hear me. I'm having some laptop issues because our power went out the other day and I haven't used my laptop since, so it took forever to get it to start. Hello, Christy. I'm gonna wait a few to see if we get other people showing up before we start. Hi, Kathy Ann. And today's topic is just drama. So thank you, Leon, for telling me that you see and hear me. And hello, Sand. And let me approve these two people that want in. While I'm approving these people, not that I want you all to be spies, but if you happen to be in the guilty groups or anything like that, and you see that one of those people are in this group, message us and let us know so we can remove them. Only people that think they're guilty. We don't want any part of it. Hello again. All right. So I'll be blabbing for a while. Well, I blab always a lot. There's some of you who may not know anything what I'm about to discuss. So, because it was not this past June, the June before that, June 2017. All right. So we have 15 people on. I will get started. So they wanted to do, the people in Carla's fan group wanted to do rallies. And they were calling it worldwide rallies. And so there a couple of Carla's minions were like in charge of this global rallies. And so I live in a Chicago suburb, so I first started putting the plans in to do one in Chicago. So I had contacted where I was going to have it and submitted the thing for permission to have it there, the permit stuff, all that kind of stuff. Because there was one that was already scheduled to be in Madison, Wisconsin, and Milwaukee. I didn't understand why there wasn't one in Manitowoc, but I wasn't in charge of all of that. So there were already two in Wisconsin. So I'm like, all right, I'll do one in Chicago. And that's also where Brendan's attorneys are. And Stephen's attorney is in the next town over from me in the suburbs. So then there was this girl, Megan Prather, I don't know how you say her name. She did not follow protocol, I guess would be the word you'd use. Because if you wanted to host one of these rallies that was going to be attached to the family, you had to go through Carla's minions and get permission to do it before yours would be announced and official. So Megan, that's what I call her because she's all about herself, me. So Megan just scheduled a Manitowoc rally without talking to anybody first. And she is somebody that I knew because she lives in Illinois, but she's not close to me. And back then I was doing I think it was once a month, I don't remember now, that I was calling it Making a Murderer Live. And so we would be doing this, and also anybody who was in the Illinois area was welcome to come to my house and be a part of it and be on camera and such. So Megan came to one of those, as did Carla came. It was Carla, her husband Stacy, and then one of her daughters came once for that when we were friends. So Megan announced that she was doing one in Manitowoc. And so then I said to Suzanne Brown, who was the person in charge, I don't see the point in having one in Chicago if there are going to be 3 in Wisconsin, one of which is Manitowoc, where if you're going to go to the Chicago one, then you would go to Manitowoc, because Manitowoc's only like a 2.5 hour drive from here. So it's not far. So you would go to Manitowoc, right? So so I expressed that to Suzanne. And then I told Megan that I had canceled mine, and I asked her if she needed help with hers. Oh, I just scrolled a little bit to make sure I'm not missing anything. And I see Brandy saying, hey, girl, good to see you. Good. I'm glad you're here, because I know we've had issues that you haven't been able to get on, or I can't see your questions. So, Brandy, I see you. All right. So, I had said to Megan that I canceled mine. And then she was really nice then. And she's like, well, no, I don't want to step on your toes. I could cancel mine. I didn't know I was supposed to do it like this, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, that's fine. Manitowoc is ground zero. It's where this event should be. So I asked her, if she wanted my help. And she accepted it. And she was also working with this other Megan chick who lives like Michigan or something up north. I can't remember where. So, and Megan had done a prior, she did a protest at the Manitowoc courthouse in like January, so Making a Murderer had come out in December, and then she did one at the courthouse in like I think it was January. I know I couldn't go because I was doing something else that day, and I also had plans to already go up to the actual salvage yard like the weekend after, before she had scheduled her protest up there. So I'm thinking, since she had one in January, that she knew the steps to have an event at the courthouse. So then the next thing was Megan wanted to have a camp out, make it a whole weekend thing. So Megan and I started looking for campgrounds in the area, and then and we were pricing them and seeing what kind of deal we'd get. And Megan found one and we booked it. And so then the original event we had made talked about camp out and what the cost would be if you wanted to camp out at the campground. So when Carla and Stacy had come down here for a Making a Murderer Live, Megan was also here. That was the first time she was meeting any family. She didn't know anybody prior. I had already seen them on several occasions. And so Carla had said to me that she would like to have the camp out on her property, but she wasn't sure what her husband Stacy would say about it. So after that event, Carla and I had been messaging about it, and she's like that she kind of talked to Stacy, and Stacy had concerns. And so Carla asked me to ask Stacy because she felt that I'd have a better chance talking to him than she would. So, and I really like Stacy, in spite of the bitch of a wife he has. Stacy's, I like Stacy a lot. And so does my boyfriend, Jeff. Jeff and Stacy got along really well. And so when I talked to Stacy about it, he had concerns, which I totally understand, of having strangers on his property And of course, they're connected with the whole Avery thing. So there could be guilters that like show up and cause some kind of drama, blah, blah, blah. So Stacy said he would only allow it to be on his property if my boyfriend and I were there to provide security. And then my boyfriend owns a print shop. And so he printed up a liability waiver that anybody who was going to stay on the property would have to sign that. So, you know, if they get hurt or whatever, you know, you're releasing Stacy from being liable from that. So then the event changed and it was going to be at Carla's house. I was going up to Carla's. Carla wanted me to come look at her property so we could discuss how things would be set up. And Megan tagged along with her husband, who actually thinks Stephen and Brendan are guilty, and her husband is a prick. Really don't like him at all. So Megan and her husband tagged along. And so first we met at a restaurant in Manitowoc for breakfast. And that was my first time meeting Lisa Zatkowski, who is now, she's part of a million different groups. And she thinks she's really cool. And she's the one that now, for 2 years, has been, is claiming that I've stolen money, and she reported me to police and all that. And we've gone over all that. And I haven't been scrolling, so I don't know what you guys are saying since I'm blabbing. So you can ask me questions about that. I won't, that's a whole side thing, and it'll get me way distracted to go into the Lisa Zatkowski bullshit. So Lisa came to the restaurant because my boyfriend had made a whole bunch of flyers for the camp out. Oh, and then, well, I'll get into the whole auction thing too, because that's like the main thing. So Lisa lives in Wisconsin, and so she wanted some flyers to like put up places. So, but it was also just her way of weaseling because she wanted to meet people. Because then while we were at the restaurant, she was kind of trying, because I was going to the salvage yard afterwards. And so she was trying to weasel to come with there. And it's like, no, you know, I don't know you, and all, you know, not having you at somebody's house and all that stuff. And I don't look at the salvage yard as being, you know, anybody who wants to go there, you know. So while we were at the restaurant, Lisa was extremely rude. I really judge people on how you treat your server. And she was a total bitch to our waitress. She kept sending shit back for no reason. And when she would send it back, she was really rude about it. She sent everything back, including her water. And then when she had to pay her bill, she wouldn't leave a tip too. So she was just total bitch about the whole thing. And then when we were leaving, she asked for a picture with me and then also with my boyfriend, because my boyfriend was then known as Printer Guy, because he's the one that came up with the logo for the worldwide rallies and made these rally shirts that we had sold. And so everybody knew of Jeff as the Printer Guy. And so she wanted a picture with me and she wanted a picture with Jeff because she said, "You're famous." So that again, when I say there's a distinction between people who are supporters of Stephen and Brendan, and then there are people who are just fans. And Lisa Zatkowski is a psychotic fan, you know, and fan is short for fanatic, and that's what that chick is. So, all right. So, we go to the salvage yard, and I do a second, because previously I had been up there and I did that Pam Sturm Walk of God, where I recorded it and timed it, you know, walking from the office to where the RAV4 was. So, but when I had done that, it was winter. Now this was warmer weather. So walked it again and recorded it. and Megan wore flip-flops to walk through a salvage yard. So to jump ahead, when she got home, she went to the emergency room because she claimed she like stepped on a nail or something and had to go to the emergency for it. And then she posted it on Facebook, you know, that, oh, she got hurt at the salvage yard, which again is why I don't want the salvage yard to just have anybody walking through there, because now you have Megan, the idiot, stepping on something because she's in flip-flops and then publicly posting that she did that at the salvage yard, which would be something that people would attack of she got hurt there and blah, blah, blah. And again, showing we need the liability waiver and all that. It's your stupidity that you're going to walk through a salvage yard in flip-flops. I believe I've done it too. But if I stepped on something, I'm not going to make a big deal over it and say anything about it. That's the risk I take. It's not the salvage yard's fault that I'm an idiot. And it's a salvage yard. Come on. So we walked through there, did all that. And then we went to Carla's house, looked at all her property and how we were going to set everything up. She had horrible cell reception or Wi-Fi. So, and we were going to be doing a Facebook Live from the camp out because we were also going to be doing this auction. So we needed a better signal. So now that was something that my boyfriend Jeff, because he's kind of can do everything and anything. So he has this whole Wi-Fi booster thing. So that was on the plan that we would bring that with to make sure that we would have good service while we were there for this event. So next thing, I think the next thing that happened is we had I had put up the video that I took, and then Megan took my video and put it on her YouTube channel that she tries to make money off of. My video was up on the Facebook page and free, but now here's Megan without my permission put it up to make money. Not that, and I don't know anything about YouTube, so I don't know, but you're trying to make money off the Avery family by doing, you know, that's shitty. So I can't remember the order of everything. So I apologize if things are going to be out of order here. So I'm asking Megan, does she have everything set for us to be at the courthouse? Because I want everything done legally. And then it was, well, the other Megan had arranged it before, blah, blah, blah. So then I was talking to the other Megan, and to try and make a long story short, which is difficult for me because every story is long, when they did it in January, they were supposed to have a freaking permit. So it's once again what Megan always does is Megan does what Megan wants and doesn't care what the rules are. And so when they had done it in January, they were told then, this is a one and done. We're going to let this go that you're here without going through the proper channels. But if you do this again, you need a special events permit. So now, because I'm insisting that I want things legal, we find that out. And then the other Megan said she would handle it. And then she told me she didn't know how and asked me if I could do it. And so then she forwarded me the permit application. So I filled it out and I faxed it back to Manitowoc. And I then became obviously the contact for anything that's happening with this rally because I'm doing this permit. So now when I talk to Manitowoc, and I've told you guys before that I'm really bad with numbers. So I don't remember the number they told me they were charging me. If it was like $1,200 or $2,000, I can't remember. But it was up there because they wanted me to have liability insurance for my special event. And then they were going to charge me a cleanup fee and for security, for Manitowoc Sheriff's Department to be security. And I said, okay, well, then what I'll do is we'll stay on the public sidewalk. And I don't need a permit to be on the public sidewalk. It is my lawful right to demonstrate on public property. To which Manitowoc then told me they own the sidewalk. And I said, no, you don't. And they said, yes, I do. So then my next step was I contacted the Wisconsin ACLU. So I told them what Manitowoc Sheriff's Department was doing to me. And I'm saying a lot of ahs. Sorry, I know that's not professional. So ACLU handled it from there. So then they sent correspondence to Manitowoc saying that they want any inter-office emails, letters, whatever, that has discussed this event or had my name in it, that they had to turn it over to the ACLU. So after the ACLU got involved, that's when the Manitowoc decided, okay, yep, you can be on the public sidewalk, but only the public sidewalk. And the whole thing, so because something they had tried to scare us with previously is this whole thing if you have to stay moving at all times. And if you weren't moving, then they could arrest you. That's false. We just can't block somebody's right away. That's all. But the only thing that Manitowoc was really pushing on me then is we could not have any sound amplification, which means, a speaker system or a bullhorn. So that was another argument I got into with Megan, is because when she was at the January protest, she had used a bullhorn and a picture got taken of her for the press. And so Megan was really proud of, oh, look at her picture. So she's like, I need a bullhorn. It's what I'm known for. Because now she's thinking she's famous and everything. And so I argued with her a whole bunch because can we just follow the rules? And keep everybody safe and lawful. No sound amplification. It's not a big fucking deal. You don't need a bullhorn. And she said she was going to do it anyway. And let's see, what else happened there? All right, the auction. So now it was Megan's idea to do this auction. I was against the auction from the get-go because I've done it before with my not-for-profit organization. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of headache to keep track of. I wanted no part of an auction. And I said it wasn't a good idea. But I said, you want to do an auction? Then it's all yours. You do it. I did buy stuff, though, to contribute to the auction. And I actually, I'm sure you've seen before, I'm all tattooed up. I had my tattoo artist do an original painting of Stephen and Brendan that I paid for. And we were going to auction that off. And then I bought stuff like a bucket with all this stuff for car wash stuff, auction this car wash bucket and, things like that. And then my boyfriend was also going to auction off some free printing, that he'll make you a shirt or something, any shirt that you say and all that kind of stuff. So Megan's organizing this auction. Then she says she wants us to get on some auction website that costs money to be on this auction website. And I'm like, why would we do that? This is a fundraiser. We're trying to make money for Stephen and Brendan. So why are we going to pay money to do an auction? Why wouldn't we just use Facebook? Because anybody who would know about the campout/auction are learning about it from Facebook. So that would be the easiest way to do this. But Megan just really wanted this website. And so it was another thing that we argued over. So I'm trying to remember what was the end. Well, eventually what it got to is Megan said that I was taking over her event. So, but I actually have a text message from Megan where, because like 4 or 5 separate times she quit, that she didn't want to organize this, and for whatever reason, because she's a drama queen, and was quitting. And so she had asked me early on, the word she used was spearhead the event. Now, maybe spearhead means something different to her than it means to me. Spearhead means to me, I'm leading, which I was doing. Again, I was ACLU, I was police contact. Stacy wasn't going to let the camp out be at his house unless I was there, and my boyfriend and I were organizing that. Oh, here's another thing that Megan and I got into an argument about. She wanted, after the rally, people to go to the salvage yard and get a tour of the salvage yard. And I went, no. And she's like, no, everybody would like it. And I'm like, yeah, everybody would like it, but we can't just have strange people walking through there. And we don't know who those people are, so we don't know what they're going to do. It's just not a good idea. And then, because she had also put it out there publicly that now people were going to get a tour of the salvage yard. And I said, have you checked with Chuck? Because anytime you're going to do something at the salvage yard, you have to go through Chuck. So like I had already planned for, there's this girl, Sarah, I can't remember her last name, but she does this song called Bad Man. And I heard it for the first time when I went to the Stephen Drizzen, Laura Nyrider thing in Chicago. They had Sarah perform that song. And it is such a sad, sweet song, all about the Avery case. And so I had asked Chuck if I could bring that band up there and let them film for the video for that song. And Chuck gave me permission for that. Because again, you go through proper channels. So I asked Megan, did she talk to Chuck? She didn't even know Chuck. She's never even met Chuck. I've met Chuck. I'm not trying to be a name dropper, but did you talk to Chuck? And I'm like, okay, then we're going to need to do a liability waiver for the salvage yard. We can't just have people walking through there, because also, again, Megan did her whole, I stepped on something and had to get a tetanus shot and blah, blah, blah. So it's another time of me and Megan butting heads. So eventually Megan throws a tantrum and she tells me that she won't work with me anymore, that I can't be part of her event, which I've done almost everything. What bird is making that noise? It's a cool noise. Sorry. So Carla had been talking to me throughout all of this. Carla and I were friends. And over the several different times that Megan had quit, Carla always talked her back to come and be a part of it again. And so now it was just a couple days prior to the rally. And I was at my boyfriend's print shop because somebody has to make all this stuff. And so people had wanted shirts and they wanted signs, and there's the liability waivers and all that stuff. So I go to the print shop and I'm doing like half the work with my boyfriend to do all this. And so I'm talking to Carla about, Megan's now telling me I can't be involved. And Carla says to me, if she wants, she could pull rank and tell us all what to do, and we have to follow her orders. And I said, well, that's not true. I don't have to follow what you say, Carla. because at that time too, I had Free Brendan. And again, my Free Brendan page, not mine, it's Injustice Anywhere's page that I run. It existed before Carla's page did. So I'd been around before Carla. And I'm like, no. So then the next morning, I wake up and see that my friend from Injustice Anywhere. Now, Injustice Anywhere and I had worked together on the Barbara Todick Juvenile Interrogation Protection Law. So the petition you will see Barb pushing, if you look to the bottom of the petition, it will say it is managed by Free Brendan and Injustice Anywhere, which is us. So Injustice Anywhere and I are the ones that came up with everything that is in that petition. Mostly Injustice Anywhere. I'm not taking credit for that. Injustice Anywhere, on their board, they have lawyers. And they've done many petitions before. They've worked on many different cases. So my contribution to it is that I had a phone conversation with Laura Nyrider. And I was telling her what we were going to have in there. And then she gave me her notes on it, which she had some very good points. So we added those in there. And the thing to know about this petition is it was originally started by another psycho stalker fan. I can't even remember what her name is right now, who lives in England. And the petition that she originally made was a total mess and nothing was ever going to happen with it. Nobody's ever going to look at it because it wasn't done proper. Again, remember, there's rules. There's an order of things that you have to do. So Jenny, that's her name. We and Carla got Jenny to turn it over to us to now control that petition. And then once Injustice Anywhere and I got the login, we changed the password and ran it from there. So after I tell Carla that she's not the boss of me, I get a message from Injustice Anywhere in the morning saying that Jenny has taken control back of the petition and locked us out of it. And that Jenny then edited it, where again, it was this big gobbledygook mess. It didn't even make sense. And also, let me go back. When we were originally talking to Jenny about this petition, nobody in the United States are going to listen to somebody. Oh my God, it sounds like my boyfriend's home and he was supposed to be working late tonight. So he'll be walking in a second. Nobody in the United States is going to care what somebody out of the country has to say about our laws. So it's another reason why that petition would just go nowhere. But since Jenny is the person who started it, she could ask for a recovery password and get back in. So Jenny got control of it. We were blocked out. And so then I call Carla and go, I'm on Facebook Live. I didn't know you were coming home. Yeah. I call Carla and I'm like, what's going on? Because it's very obvious after me telling her she can't tell me what to do, now we're locked out of the petition. Carla first tried to play dumb, that she had no idea and Jenny's just a psycho. And then I found out that Carla had messaged Injustice Anywhere and told them that I steal money. So here was Carla going on this lying thing. And the problem with her doing that is my contact with Injustice Anywhere is somebody I've known since high school. And actually his wife grew up behind me. So I've known his wife since I was like in 3rd grade. So they knew that wasn't true. But now I know that Carla is out to just flat out sabotage me. So now I couldn't decide what I was going to do. Was I still going to go to the rally that I organized or not? Barb, because I was friends with Barb at that time, begged me to come up there because Barb hated Carla. And Scott really hated Carla. Scott hated Carla. Scott hated Stacy. So Barb kept asking me and my boyfriend to come up there and just stay by us. You know, you could just stay by us. And then Stacy still wanted us to come and kept saying that I wouldn't have to go anywhere near Megan, come up there for him. He didn't want this unless we were going to be there. And so I just kept going back and forth because I believe in the cause and I believe in the work I did. But everything that Megan was doing was utter bullshit with she's going to use a megaphone and she's going to, you know, so I'm like, ugh. And then now when Megan and I see each other, it could get ugly. And that's not a good look for Brendan and Steven to have the supporters fighting. So my boyfriend really wanted to go because, you know, he really liked Stacy and had given his word he was going to be there. And he tried to push me to go. I just felt it was better if I didn't. So I have all these shirts and signs and the waivers. And I had these bracelets made that say freebrendan.org on one side and Injustice Everywhere on the other. Oh, I have another one and I don't even have it on. I have ones that are just for Brendan too. And so first my boyfriend was looking to see if he'd be able to ship it up there. And everything was going to be too expensive with how quick. So somebody else who was having a sign printed said they would meet us like halfway. So now I've got Carla and Megan and, you know, doing all this shit to me, you know, trying to sabotage me. And so my boyfriend and I still drove up there and gave 2 boxes of stuff, of everybody's stuff. So they still got it, including Carla. I sent a shirt for her daughter, and my boyfriend and I really liked her daughter. And when her daughter had been here, we had a bunch of candy that was out on the table. And so my boyfriend put a bunch of that candy in the box too, so she could have the candy. And so shirt for Stacy, shirt for Scott and Barb, and signs for people. Now, some of these people didn't pay me, or him, who just walked past again. Hadn't been paid yet for this stuff, but we still set it up there. There was a banner. So we still bring it all up there. So they have their rally and thank you, Christy. I haven't read your whole message, but I see the beginning of it, and thank you. So they have their rally at the courthouse, which they went against everything we were told. They did not stay on the public sidewalk. They went on courthouse property. Nothing happened to them, but it's again breaking the rules because they actually were being um, helpful Manitowoc was, where they were they blocked out a certain area of the parking lot where we'd be able to set up like an easy up and put chairs and stuff for people who can't walk and all this stuff. So they were being helpful at that point. But Megan does what Megan wants. So the auction had a whole bunch of stuff that people had offered up. So like this one guy has like a bed and breakfast. So he offered up a weekend at his bed and breakfast. Somebody sent her sapphire diamond ring that no longer fit her or something. And then she also sent a whole bunch of fly fishing little thingamabobbers. I don't know anything about fly fishing, but she had said that that stuff costs a lot. And I had told everybody, including the girl with the ring who used to message me all the time, to send everything to Megan, because auction, not my department. That's her department. So now we go to Amy. I had never met Amy at this point. I didn't know her. She had messaged me looking for, she had wanted a special Brendan shirt, not the one that we were originally offering. And we had several people do that wanted special order Brendan shirts, which we did. It'd be a whole lot easier to just, the shirt that we offered, just print those. It's a lot less work. But some people are like, okay, the thing we had on the front and the thing we had on the back, could you switch it and have it this way? Or could I have it both? Or could I have a special difference saying all this stuff? Total pain in the ass. But we did it. So Amy had ordered a special shirt. And then I know she had messaged me and we fought. Because now Amy had gone or was going to the rally or something. I don't know. I don't remember the order of it. So Amy just believed what she was being told about me. So, and Amy, she really feels for the family. And so she went on the attack. So Amy and I over message butt heads big time. We're both strong, bitchy women, so we went at it. But then when she saw that after all this, and then people are saying I stole money and did all this shit, and I still sent them their stuff. I didn't have to do that, because some of the people's stuff in there, they didn't pay for it. I didn't have to do dick. I could tell people, come here and get it. Because that's the thing too. They wanted to save the cost of shipping. So they were asking me to just bring the shirt with me when I went up to the rally, and they would get it there. So they would get money off. So I still sent it. All of it. So, and then, Barb liked me, and Amy connected with Barb when she was there for that camp out. So now they have this auction, which was a total mess. Amy to this day has not gotten what she bid on and won and paid for. That sapphire ring and the fishing lures, gone. So the reason for me coming on here today is because people were sending me screenshots that this was being discussed on Twitter. So the girl whose ring and fly fishing thing was bringing up, where's my stuff? And so Megan has not really been in the Making a Murderer universe as of late, because she's a total nut job and is always going to her next get rich quick scheme. So that brought Megan back out of the weeds, where then she said that she sent it to Barb, and she said, and Barb sent it back because she's immature And because Megan's claiming that she like yelled at Scott or some shit. I don't know. All right. I was still friends with Barb at this time. And yes, Megan sent this stuff to Barb. And Barb's like, oh, hell no. This is not getting put on me now of all this stuff on whose stuff is this and where does this go and the cost to send it to anybody. No, I'm not touching it. And so Barb did a return to sender. If that's not being immature, okay? And I know I'm on bad terms with Barb, but I'm somebody where right is right and wrong is wrong. I don't have to like you to say something that's in your favor. And no, Barb absolutely should have just sent that right back to Megan. This was your baby. You wanted to do this stupid auction thing. So either send the stuff back to the people or give people their fucking money back. You know? So the money that came in. Now, when you do something like this, camp out, whatever, that you're doing as a fundraiser, the cost of that comes from you. So like Megan had said, she was going to donate all the meat for the camp out, because that was another thing that I didn't get, that now people weren't going to have to pay because now we were at Carla's house, but now we're still going to pay to feed them all. You could have just told people to bring their own stuff. And Megan was doing for the first night some campfire stew thing that sounded absolutely disgusting, where it was everybody brings some soup thing and you put it all together. And also, okay, it's freaking June. Do you want soup? What the, stupid. So Megan had said that she was going to be donating all the meat. And then the other Megan was going to be buying the s'more stuff. And then I was doing all the paper products. So when the money came in from this thing, they paid themselves first. They took their money back from any money they spent. So Megan, other Megan, Carla, and Christine Franzen all took money first. Then they divvied up what was left, that this is going to go to Steven. And at that time, Carla was thinking she's the boss of Steven, so she took Steven's share. What happened with that, who knows? And then she gave Barb, I think it was only like $200 is all Barb got for Brendan's share. So this big, huge fundraiser and auction got Brendan $200, and I don't know how much for Steven. And all those people put money in their pockets, and they took all my printed stuff. Nobody offered to pay me for it. Some of these people actually went on Twitter claiming I stole their money. When I see the pictures of them holding my signs and my stuff, you have it. And you didn't pay me. But then you're going to, follow the leader and Carla and Lisa Sakowski, who's the big one that wants to say I stole fucking money. So was my big thing on knowing how horrible Carla is. That she reached out to Injustice Anywhere to claim that I steal money. And then Lisa Sakowski, still to this day, will post that I steal money, even though that has been, because she reported me to the Attorney General's office and my local police department. I'm still here. I'm not arrested. So I've never stolen anything. And I'll touch on this too. Well, while we're in that most of you probably don't know, is I was the president of a not-for-profit organization. We did a fundraiser for a member's son who had cancer. So it was this vendor show because the kid's grandmother and a friend of the grandmother were vendors. One was an Avon lady and one sold like women's clothing or something. So these two women were on the vendor whole thing. So it was a vendor show. And then we also did a pancake breakfast and Santa, that you can have your pictures taken with Santa, you know, that kind of stuff. So they handled the whole vendor thing. And so the vendor thing is you're charging everybody who's going to have a booth there X amount of dollars to have a booth. So they were handling that part of the event. And then the rest of us in the organization were handling the pancake breakfast. So, and the pancake breakfast thing is not a donation, you know, so the money from the door coming in was then going to be paying the cost of, we did pancakes, eggs, sausage, and then there was coffee and orange juice and all that. And then we were also asking people to bring a new toy because the children's hospital that Ryan was being treated at, we were going to collect a whole bunch of presents for the hospital. So we had that event. It seemed to go well. And one of the issues we had was then the people that had so the family of the kid who had organized the vendor show part, then we're telling all their vendors they could come eat the stuff for free. So we got stuck having to feed all of them. Plus they brought their all extended family there who then didn't pay to come in either. And there had to have been like 20 of them that was eating all of the stuff. So now they had collected all the vendor money. We had collected all the door money. And the way my organization did events is you have a meeting once a month. Our meetings were the second Tuesday of every month. So after an event, the following meeting is where you come with your expense report. What money came in, what money was going out, so we could square up everything and then give the family what money came in. These people did not show up to the meeting. I even have a text message that I sent them like 5 minutes into that meeting saying, are you guys coming? We need to go over the finances. They don't answer me. I don't see them or hear from them for months. And and another thing they did was all the toys we collected, they were supposed to bring these toys to the hospital, you know, and it was a lot of toys. No, they wouldn't do it. It ended up coming with me. And so my boyfriend and I then had to go to the hospital in Chicago and go deliver all these toys. So I don't hear from these people for months. We literally had the money that came in at the door, which was like after expenses, since we don't have any of the money they collected from the vendor, and the vendor money is way more than what we collected at the door, because vendor people were paying like $50 or $100 a table, and there was like 20 plus tables that was there. So after expenses from the door, there was only 200 and something, but we had it in a cash box with all the receipts sitting there waiting for these people. So then months later, I get a message from the grandmother, who was also a member of our organization, who was not answering me when I was messaging her prior, asking me, where is the money for Ryan? And I said, where's the money from the vendors? All that money needs to go together. And so this money is sitting here until we collect all of that money. And so the grandmother got all pissed off because I said her friend was the one that had collected all the vendor money. And so I said, ask her where that money is. I've been waiting for months for you guys to come so we could go over the expense report. So then the next thing that happens is Ryan's mother makes a Facebook post, a public Facebook post, where she accused me of stealing money from her son. And for however they came in contact, that woman then came into the Making a Murderer world and started chatting with Carla and Lisa Sikowski and all those people. So now Carla's minions to this day, so when you see it posted in the Guilty group, they will say that I stole money from a boy with leukemia. Nope, we're still waiting for them to turn in the money they took so we could go over the expenses. And we eventually took the money that was sitting here and gave it to the hospital because they weren't going to come and bring the rest of the money in. So, and I had done multiple fundraisers for that kid. I raised money for that kid for a year or two. That we had our meetings at a restaurant where 10% or 15% of your food order would go towards that boy. And one of Carla's little buddies, Scott, not Barb's husband, Scott, a different Scott. This guy is a total crack job. I can't remember his name right now. Actually attended one because he came here because he wanted to show me his son's case. And so he came to my meeting at the restaurant, and he's somebody who now will accuse me of stealing money when he and his girlfriend were some of the people that had special signs made and everything that they still got that they didn't pay for. And so that guy even attended one of those at the restaurant where we were constantly, and it was a restaurant that I didn't like. The food was expensive, but I went and I ordered food every freaking time because Ryan would get that money. So that's just another thing in the whole Carla, Lisa Sikowski bullshit of them trying to accuse me of stealing money. All right, so I've chatted now, for an hour without even looking at anybody's comments. So that, and I think, is the bulk of the auction campout stuff covered. I'm now going to start scrolling through your messages to see if anybody had any questions or comments on that. And that's what I'm discussing today. I'm sure there's going to be questions. I know Christy handles a lot of it because she's so good when people have questions. So nothing new is going on in Stephen's case. We're still waiting to hear stuff. I just wanted to address this stuff. I know it's from 2 years ago, and a lot of you don't even know anything about it. But since it's now been dragged back out again and is on Twitter, I thought I will give you the truth of what happened there. And it's also open to ask me any question. I tell you no lies. So scrolling down now. Corey is asking, how is Mama Avery doing? Now my boyfriend's outside weed whacking. So I can't remember what he said to me because my boyfriend just talked to Earl and talked to Earl yesterday or the day before, and that she was out of the hospital, but then they were looking for another doctor for her or something. And so that she was doing okay, but still needs a doctor. But I can't remember. If he was at the window weed whacking right there, I would have him say something through the window. I can't remember what he said. I have thought about if I should call Dolores, but it's I don't want to bother her, so I'm just leaving it alone. Taylor says, does Zellner think the evidence from the computer can be used? I'm confused on that. So all we know on that is that Kathleen had said that the computer was wiped or whatever. That's all we know. That Zellner doesn't fill us in on everything. So we don't know all the details from that yet. We're still waiting. Christy, they probably doubled whatever they normally charge because this was about Stephen. Yeah. Savannah, are the police officers, investigators, judges that was behind this innocent man going to prison still doing their duty, or did they get fired? Some have retired, so like Lank retired and he's living in Arizona. What's his face? Wiegert just won to be sheriff of Calumet County. Kratz went on because he's a pervert, sweat pervert. He had to step down from being the state's attorney, or was he assistant state's attorney? I don't know. And so then was a defense attorney. I'm not sure if anything's really going on with that. Dietering's been pulled out of retirement for investigation continues, and Barb enjoys talking to Dietering, who's one of the assholes that questioned Brendan. The guy the pencil, that Gene Kush, however you say it, he's dead. Colborn, Andrew Colborn, he's still a cop. And did I cover everybody? I think I covered everybody. Oh, and then everyone is still employed or retired. So no one is. So thank you for answering. Sorry, I'm not scrolling. Savannah says, is Steven still alive, and how is Brendan? They're both alive, and they're both doing as well as can be expected. And Christy replied to that. Savannah, how is Mom, Pa, Avery? Same. And Christy answered that too, so I won't go into that. Thank you so much, Christy. You're the best. Jess says, I think that's a cardinal. Oh, so you heard that too? I think it might have been a blue jay. I think the blue jays are the ones that are really loud and annoying. Sean, never ever co-event anything. Either be in charge, let someone else be in charge, or just be a helper. Word. Sam, this is so fucking sad. Yep. Christy, it's usually the guilty that accuse. Right, because what's a thing, whenever you point your finger at someone, there's three, because these are the three that are pointing back at you. Janet, they sound like nasty people. Yep. Oh, that reminds me. Here's what Megan got all upset about. So one of Carla's pets, Christine, she wants press, too. So even though Christine had nothing to do with this rally or organizing it or anything, she was throwing herself out there to talk to press about it. And so then she messaged me and both Megans and said that there was an online thing, Hello Giggles, I think it's called. Hello Giggles wanted to talk to everybody about it. And so she wanted to know if we were all okay with that and our contact numbers. And so then I was on my way to get tattooed, and the Megans were both busy or something. So we all agreed on a time to do a Facebook call with all of us. And so then when the Facebook call happened, neither Megan answered. I was the only one on the call. So Christine had said the whole spiel and asked for contact information on, if everybody's okay to talk. And so then when I got off that call, because I had a Facebook message that was me and the Megans, so I had messaged them about what the whole call was about. And Megan got upset on that because then Megan said, this is my event. I'm the only one that talks to press. So she was very upset that I said you could contact me and gave my number. So Megan was trying to do the, I'm the only one that talks to press. Oh, and then another thing, I'm remembering a whole bunch, sorry. So in my compromise, I was trying to compromise in me still being able to go. So I said, well, since I'm the one that organized the rally, how about the Megans just stay at Carla's house and get that all prepared? Because that's another thing they were saying they were going to do is we would be at the rally at the courthouse, but then we were going to leave early and go set up stuff for the camp out in the auction. And I'm like, we're legally responsible for what's going on there. We have to be the last people that leave there. You can't just leave because, again, me trying to follow the rules. So I said, how about I do the rally, Megans do the camp out. I won't go to the camp out. They don't go to the rally. No, they got upset with that because why? Oh, press is going to go to the rally and press won't be at the camp out and they want press. And then it was, how dare I try to, how did they word it? Because I was just trying to, make demands on their event. I was just trying to come up with a compromise. That I wanted no part of that auction bullshit. You do the auction. I am the one that filled out the permit, did all the permit stuff, talked with ACLU. I was the one handling everything there. And I would be doing everything legal where they wouldn't. But whatever. Okay. So I skipped back to that. Sorry. I get angry. And so, yeah, I go on and on. So let me scroll back down. All right. That's Christy replying to somebody. Sharon, sounds like they were thinking of themselves and Stephen and Brendan were last on the list of priorities. They always are. Because Carla has contacted Stephen on multiple occasions asking him for money. Because her car's not running. Not her car that she drives daily. She has this stupid convertible, nothing special. But it's her, yay, I'm having fun car. And so she needed tires for it. And then something else she was saying, her daughter Miranda did something and broke something on the car. So imagine the balls that he's in prison. You're free. I don't care how much money you have. You're free. And you're going to ask him for money to fix your Joyride car. And when Making a Murderer first came out, there was a GoFundMe that quite a bit of money was donated to. That one GoFundMe was to be split between Stephen and Brendan. Yeah. Brendan's lawyers have never received anything from that. And Zellner took Stephen's. So it's in an account that has Chuck, and there goes my boyfriend cutting the grass, Chuck, Dolores, and Barba. And no money can come out unless 2 out of the 3 sign for it. Because the family wants to block Barb from spending it on Scott, basically. So Barb now has her own GoFundMe that the family doesn't have any control over. So again, money, 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 money. Stan says, well, I'm glad. I thought when I saw the ring, Stephen was married again. Felt a tinge of jealousy. Haha. Yeah. So that is the actual ring that was supposed to be auctioned that the girl had sent me when she was like, I want to offer this for auction. And I was like, oh my God, this is, but I'm like, again, that's Megan. I wanted no part of doing that stuff. All right. Oh, I all the way down, so we don't have many things. So Jeffrey, have you planned or considered what you will do when all this is over? I do a whole lot of advocating for multiple cases. So once Stephen and Brendan are free, Stephen Avery Project will continue to get updated with any news on Stephen, and same thing with the Brendan page. And I personally, will see where the other two cases that I advocate for, Kent Pellegrini and Melissa Kaluzinski, where those cases are. Right now, it's crazy because Kathleen represents Stephen, Melissa, and Kent. And she filed for them all in the beginning of July. So we're waiting to hear from the court on all three cases around the same time. So it's kind of insane right now. And Kent actually called me Tuesday, I think. And Kent's case is not as big as Melissa and Stephen's, because Melissa and Stephen are both convicted of murder that they didn't do. Kent is in prison for raping his wife. So that's a big, long story. If you want to look into that, his Facebook page is Justice, the letter 4, Kent. And I run that page as well. So if you want to know about the Kent, go there. So Kent called me the other day flipping out because he's not hearing anything. And so he's asking me what's going on. And so I'm like, well, Stephen's case is crazy right now. And I also know Kathleen just got 2 people that were freed, Ryan Ferguson and Mario something, just in the last couple weeks. She just got them millions of dollars. So she's got a lot of balls in the air. So, and I don't want to say it to Kent, but, I'm sure he's bottom of the totem pole. And actually, Kathleen, because I've gone to Kent's hearings, Kathleen's not even there for that. It's one of her associates that has been heading up Kent's case. Kathleen has done, so now when I've attended Melissa's hearings, Kathleen is there and takes lead on it. And the one that is leading Kent's case is there in second chair at Melissa's. And Kathleen will be first chair for Stevens. So I will continue advocating for them if they're not free yet, or I'll concentrate on other cases. And then I'm also an activist. I'm very involved in my community and organizing 1,000,001 events, and I do a lot of protests and a lot of rallies and a whole lot of stuff. So there's plenty for me to do. And I might be starting an actual job soon. Leon says, any updates on Melissa? I just went over that. We're still waiting to hear. Her dad, because I talk to Melissa's dad, Paul, at least typically once a day. We're just watching the courts. We would find out if the court had decided by their Twitter. That's where, so either we see it from the court's Twitter, or the press finds out right away, and then they contact Paul for, do you have a comment on what so we're just waiting on all 3 cases. It's crazy. But with Melissa, if anybody is following Melissa's case, you can go to Melissa's page. I think it's the official family page, Justice for Melissa Kaluzinski. You can send to Melissa's parents books or magazines, or Melissa really likes to sketch or draw. So you could mail stuff to Paul and Cheryl, and they're allowed to bring that to the prison with them and give it to Melissa. So, but look on the Melissa's page for that. I don't visit Stephen in prison, so I can't offer that for Stephen. And then Kent, like when I just talked to him on the phone, and I do visit Kent in prison, I asked him, and Kent is real big on not wanting anything from anybody. You know, Kent doesn't want donations, none of that. So you can't do that for Kent currently. All right, I'll scroll down. Louise says, I know Stephen will be okay, but I hope when Brendan comes out, he has a good support network around him and not just money-grabbing family members. I agree. His lawyer, Laura Nyrider, will protect him. I have complete faith that Laura and Brendan is attached to Laura. Laura was also the lawyer for the West Memphis Three, one of them. Damian Eccles and all that we've discussed before in gossip about the West Memphis Three. Is if you haven't watched their story, you should. So Laura Nyrider was a part of that case. So, and I know when Brendan's conviction was overturned and there was a chance that he was going to be freed, there was a lot involved in that. There, you know, so having to make sure where he's going to live and therapist and all that. So I'm going to hope, because I know that both Laura Nyrider and the other lawyer, Stephen Drizzen, because I personally have talked to them, they know the family bullshit. So, but there's only so much they can do. So I'm hoping they will look out for them, because I don't have faith in any of that Gassy Nation, you know, or Barb for that matter, to be doing anything in Brendan's best interest. As I've stated previously, Amy's not on here very often anymore. Her losing Brendan was very hard for Amy. And Amy also has school-age kids. And so, but Amy is actually the best place for Brendan to go. Amy would take care of him like a son. That's where Brendan should go. Sean says, what is the scoop with the Larry Ellier case? I don't know. I haven't followed that. Anytime that stuff's been posted, moderators from Stephen Avery Project has posted that. So I don't know anything on that. I don't know if any of them are on here right now to comment on it, or maybe you make a thread about it in gossip and they'll answer it. But yeah, I don't know anything about it, Sean. Sorry. Kathy Ann, that's going to be the tough part. He's such a trusting person. Yeah. And one of these days, I should find it. I've talked about it in a prior thing of the mean letter that Brendan sent me telling me never to contact him again. I should read that for you all, because I know Barb told him what to write, but it was just, wow. Thank you, Christy, for posting the link. And Laura is an angel, yes. Kathy Ann, I thought that Laura looked so young that she couldn't possibly know her stuff. How wrong I was, LOL. Yeah, and she's an itty bitty little thing too, and has, you know, so I've gone to 2 of Brendan's hearings too. And yeah, when she speaks, and yeah, she just seems like a young, innocent girl, but yeah, she knows her shit. Janet, what does Barb and Scott do for a living to be able to own such a big house? They both work in factories. So, Kathy, I bet it broke your heart. It did. You know, but it was, I'm going to guess, why things went bad between Barb, Scott, and I is because, well, Barb was jealous of mine and Amy's relationship. Barb met her Amy first at the rally. I hadn't met Amy in person. And the first time I met Amy in person is, remember I said earlier that I used to do these Facebook Lives all the time. I called it Making a Murderer Live, and it was done on the Free Brendan page. So you could go to Free Brendan, and I'm sure you could look in past videos and you'd be able to see those prior Facebook Lives from 2 years ago. So I went up to Barb and Scott's house because we were doing a Facebook Live. So it was Pete Dassey and Barb and Scott, and then it was Amy, and Amy's daughter was with her because Amy would stay at Barb's house for at least 1 weekend a month. And it cost Amy a lot of money to do that, to go there constantly. But Barb and Scott just wanted all of Amy's attention all the time. So my boyfriend was the one that was using the phone to do the Facebook Live, and then I had another phone, and so then I was reading the people's questions as they came in and would question everybody. So that was the first time I met Amy, and we got along. And so then Amy would come and visit me in Illinois. And when Amy got put on Brendan's visitors list, it's actually easier for her to drive from Michigan to my house and then stay here the night and then drive from here to Wisconsin to Brendan's prison, because I actually live closer to the prison than Barb does. And then for Amy being in Michigan and having the lake, so it was easier for her to do that. And where I was not on Brendan's visitors list, but when Amy and her daughter had come down here and were going to go visit Brendan, I went with them for the ride. I've talked about this before. So I went with them for the ride, and that's when I was talking to Brendan on the phone. And so Brendan knew I was going to go with Amy, and he was asking me what I was going to do while they were inside. And I said, maybe I would walk around, and he's like, oh, that inmates might whistle at you, because he's just, sweet, innocent, and naive. And so I just hung out in Amy's car while they were in there for the visit, online or napping or whatever. And then when Amy came out, she had a half full bag of chili Fritos that she said Brendan sent out because he said I must be hungry. He's a sweet, sweet kid. But so whenever Amy would come here, I would invite Barb and Scott to come too. So I'm like, come here, I have a big house, a spare bedroom and tons of couches here. So I'm like, come down here and we'll hang out. And Amy had come down because back at that time I ran a haunted house, and it was all teenagers that volunteered that did the haunted house. It was a community service thing. So Amy's daughter wanted to haunt in the haunted house. So Amy came down for that, and I had invited Barb and Scott to come down for that one and, come hang out at the haunted house. It'll be fun. Well, Barb and Scott are afraid of coming to my house because of it being Chicago type deal. So they never wanted to come. But then they would be jealous whenever Amy would come and would want Amy at their house. So it was causing that friction. And so when it got to the point where the people who are now Dassy Nation, they went to Barb and said to Barb that Amy had threatened to kill a supporter. This crazy, stupid lie. And so Barb and Scott then yelled at Amy for that. And then Amy was, fuck this, I don't have to put up with this, and left Brendan's group. And Barb and Scott, or no, only Barb would ask Amy to come back, but then Barb's rule would be, but Amy has to cut off all contact with me, because Barb wanted Amy all to herself. And Amy wouldn't agree to that. So, I had a relationship with Barb and Scott prior to Amy even watching Making a Murderer. But now it was, they just want Amy, Barb did, and Amy can't talk to me. It was really weird. And when Amy had left Brendan's group, I was still a moderator there. And Scott booted me one day, just booted me, but then messaged me and texted me and said he was sorry and put me back in. And then booted me again for whatever reason, and then made a post saying I steal money. I know, it sounds all stupid. And I see there's only 18 people on. I know I've been talking now for an hour and a half. Most of you don't give a shit about any of it. Obviously it matters to me because it's people trying to rip my reputation. But again, I put it out there, so there's the whole story on everything. I'll scroll back down on your comments. Sharon, I watched the Tyler Edmonds story today. He was 13 and confessed to murder. He recanted and is now a free man, so I live with hope. Huh. Sean, who owns Stephen's trailer now? I know another guy owned the trailer and property it was on when Stephen and Jody were using it. Why is it still there? It's neat it's still there, but why after all these years does it just sit there rotting away? I can't tell you for sure who owns it now, but it was Raleigh Johnson is his name that owned the trailer and the garage and the property it's on. And everything in there was Raleigh Johnson's, and including the gun that Stephen was convicted for having. It was Raleigh's .22. And I know I always refer people to StephenAveryCase.com. You can look up Raleigh Johnson testified. So you can see where he testified that it's his gun and that he would ride around in a golf cart with somebody else and they'd be shooting at things. And so he's sure there's, the brass everywhere and possibly in the garage from him shooting at stuff. I do not know if Raleigh still owns it and why it all still sits there. I don't know if it's requested to leave it there since both cases continue on, that they keep trying to get new trials. So maybe they leave the stuff for whatever reason. I've been to the trailer and the garage, and we could look in the windows, didn't go inside. You could look in the windows and it's falling apart. Or even when you look, and I have the gossip page up on the other side, the cover picture I have for gossip is a picture that I took. So you see, so that's what the garage looked like the day that I went there 2 years ago now, of, that garage is just peeling and all that. So, so it's just sitting there. Maybe the family just doesn't care. What else are they going to do with it? Why did Barb keep the computer? I don't know. Louise says, does Barb, Scott, or Bobby visit Brendan? Yes. Barb visits Brendan quite frequently. Scott goes when he wants his image to look good or that he just wants to control a situation. Bobby's gone on occasion. Bobby doesn't go very often. Sand. Thank you again, and your boyfriend too. Sounds like he's quite a good support for you also. Yeah, I mean, he gets tired of all this. He gets upset at times because they've gone after him too. Suzanne Brown and Lisa Zakowski both went to Yelp to my boyfriend's print shop and tried to ruin his print shop by giving it bad reviews. They would tweet stuff about his print shop to try and ruin his business. And then they did a Facebook Live thing, and my boyfriend had made new signs for the salvage yard. And one was the sign that's closer to the office, you know, not the one that's out by 47. And so there used to be a sign there that Chuck had just made himself saying this is, you know, Avery Road, you know, private for nobody to go that way. So my boyfriend made them new signs for free. I have a video. You could probably go in the archives and find it, because I videoed when we went and met with Chuck. Barb and Scott were there at that time too, and gave him the gift of these new signs. And we also gave him business cards. My boyfriend made all new business cards for the salvage yard. And so then my boyfriend had said, when they had asked him at that time, how much do we owe you? My boyfriend said, just give me the old sign, because I'm going to sound like one of the psychos that I just made fun of. I wanted the sign, which I have, and it's on the porch and in my Three Seasons room. So he didn't charge him for those signs or the cards, just gave it to him, you know. So when they did a Facebook Live, Carla and the Megans and Lisa, Christine, they said one of those signs were stolen and accused my boyfriend and I of stealing. And we were watching the live, and then that's when my boyfriend commented while it was going live, did you really just accuse me of stealing the sign that I gave you? That's how pathetic it is. And then Carla tried to backtrack on it since it was Jeff that was commenting. But yeah, so they have said shit to Jeff. Oh, and then let me go back to the rally and stuff too. Throughout the day that people were coming for this camp out, Stacy was messaging my boyfriend throughout the whole day of how pissed off he is because Carla was out joyriding in, you know, her convertible that she thinks so special. I think it's like a Sebring or some bullshit. So Stacy was left at the at the house, but for the camp out in the auction, doing all the work himself. And these were things my boyfriend and I, had we been up there, that we were going to be doing with Stacy, that he knew we were going to be helping them. But Carla and her minions wouldn't do any of it. So Stacy like messaged my boyfriend throughout that whole weekend how pissed off he was at Carla and her people and how much he hated them. And, you know, so yeah. All right. So I went back into that. Let me scroll back down and see if there's anything else. Leon said, pardon my French. If you had said something nasty, a cuss word or swear word or whatever, You don't need to worry about it. I got bad language. Christy says, some of us are invested enough to care. I am. Helps to solidify how I feel about certain people and helps to know the character of some of these individuals when reading certain motions filed by a badass. Yep. Janet says, why won't the state allow Kathleen to test the RAV4? I don't know. It makes no sense to me. I'd like to know that myself. Sean, so did they ever match the bullets or casings in the garage entered into evidence to Raleigh's gun or anyone else's gun in the family? I believe it's just a 22. It's a Marlin 22, which my boyfriend is an NRA instructor and teaches concealed carry and is a gun enthusiast. So we went over this a couple years ago because I know nothing about guns. I'm not a fan of guns. And so he told me that this 22 rifle Marlin thing is pretty basic. And that's also what Bobby had, that Scott was trying to sell at his work the 2 days later or whatever. So I don't know. I don't recall, but I'm sure it would be on StephenAveryCase.com if they for sure said that brass came from that 22 that hung over Stephen's bed. I'm sure I knew at one time, but I don't recall now if that was ever done for sure. Christy Lynn says, big difference in wanting a sign and making fluffy cloud, sparkly, butterfly, dragonfly, rainbow memes. I don't get any of it. I don't get that stuff. And I see they're doing that in the new group too, in the new group for Stephen, that it's the weird memes. It seems very childish. We did the first logo for Brendan that actually Barb, Amy, and I have tattooed on our thighs. Brendan chose it, the whole dragonfly thing, and then Amy's the one that came up with, she had a picture of an overall thing on how she wanted it to look, and then when it went to my boyfriend, he tweaked it and made that dragonfly logo thing for Stephen, or for Brendan. And then when we were no longer with Barb, we had our Justice for Stephen page, which I actually don't ever do anything with the Justice for, and there's a page in a group for that. But once we took over Stephen Avery project, there's really no need for us to keep going on the Justice for Stephen page. But on the Justice for Stephen Avery page, we made a logo for him as well. And so I wanted it to be, I wanted it to be the Phoenix rising out of the ashes. And, you know, Phoenix, like in Harry Potter, the Phoenix in that does it multiple times. So you've got Stephen was in once, got out, is in now, will be in again. So my boyfriend created the logo that is on the Justice for Stephen Avery page, which is a Phoenix. And he made the Phoenix to look like a Firebird from a car because of Stephen's love of cars. And then it says never give up on it because it's something Stephen has said. So it's like a hashtag Stephen thing, you know, never give up, which I know when I wasn't part of Stephen Avery project and I was just Brendan, that was a fight between Barb and Carla, because Brendan also wanted never give up because it's something one of his wrestlers, Steve something or another. I don't follow wrestling, but I think that's his thing too, never give up. But it was Stevens first, blah, 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 all this logo shit. And now just recently, that new group that Lisa Sakowski, the fucking whack job, is an admin of, did the, we're going to have a new logo for Steven. And, oh, they came up with a phoenix that looks like a firebird, which I literally, my boyfriend made 2 years ago and has existed for 2 years. And so when somebody mentioned it to Lisa, she pretended like she didn't know. But trust me, that bitch follows anything and everything I do. So she knew what that was. And so now they've changed the logo to an eagle, which when I mentioned it to my boyfriend that they made an eagle, he thinks that's like the worst thing ever. Because when you think of an eagle, you think of like, you know, United States, our government, blah, blah, blah. And that's who keeps Steven in prison. So why would you want that to be what represents Steven? You know, our government is, you know, our laws, our system is what keeps him there. And I know they said something about freedom, but he ain't free. So, but then, yeah, all those memes I do, it's another thing I've talked about before. I find it extremely creepy. And that's how, again, there's a difference between fans and supporters. Fans are going to make this weird kitty cat in the sky on a cloud, and Brendan is the sun, and I don't, it's weird. Okay, I'm old. I'm 47 years old. I'm not going to make a little thing in the sky and all, whatever. All right. Oh, God. We're going on close to 2 hours now. Scrolling down. Louise, I love your brutal honesty. Thank you. And that's something I've been doing for the 2 years that this stuff's been going on. I have told people constantly, you see the stuff that the family is saying about me and want to ask me about it, ask me about it. Because I don't have anything to hide. And I'll tell you exactly what happened. Carla and her people tried to say that I need to go into their guilty groups. We've given you an invitation. Come in here and defend yourself. I don't have to do that. I'm not afraid of them. Okay, so I'm sure they like to think that, like I'm scared or intimidated by them. Not in the slightest. I don't care about them. I'm not going to go in there to argue with them because they're all stupid. Facts mean nothing to them because, again, now remember, they say Steven is guilty. I have no need to be in a group that has people that think Steven and Brendan are guilty. I don't want to talk to them. I know one of their groups is, people, both sides are in this group to discuss together. No, they're not. It's to pick on people and to bully people. The people that think Steven and Brendan are guilty, if somebody who says they're innocent in there, they attack. And then they think they're super cool by cyberbullying people. I'm not entertained by it. So no. I know some of Carla's people have contacted me on the slide before and asked me things, and I answer them. You know, if they contact me, I'll tell them. But I'm not going in a guilty group because fuck you. I don't care about people who think they're guilty. And there's my brutal honesty and my bad mouth. And that's something I said at the beginning of this too, was if you see it, you know, because I'm sure there's some of you that are in those groups, because I know there's people that are curious to see what the other side says. I get it. But if you see somebody from the guilty group that is in this group or Steven Avery Project, message us and let us know, and we're going to remove them because we're not here for their entertainment. So somebody just messaged me the other day that somebody was bragging in the guilty group that, haha, we let them into the gossip group. So we now removed them, so we don't want them here. We want this group to be where we tell it how it is. And so all this stuff that I've talked about for the last 2 hours in here, the camp out and all that bullshit, I don't discuss it on Steven Avery Project. It's drama. Most people who go there, they don't want to know any of this. They don't care. That's the point of this group. So the people that are involved and you are seeing, what family's doing and the other group is doing, this is where you can ask about it. And we also discuss the case here. So, all right, let me scroll down. San says, I love the Phoenix. He deserved this the first time around. Yep. I don't look 47. Yeah, I know. I do. And I'm not being stuck up. I do know I look young for my age. You can probably see I constantly glisten because my skin is always like oily. So the benefit of having oily skin is I don't have too many wrinkles. Hey. And I know because I have all these tattoos, people assume younger. They always assume younger. But no, I'm 47. And that again is, my brutal honesty. I don't care. I tell anybody my age. Don't care. I'm 47. Better than being dead, right? So 47. Christy, and you have the screenshots to back it up. Yes, I do. We have another group that I've seen that a couple people have found just in the last 2 days and have requested to get in. I don't really do anything with that group anymore either. We have tons of screenshots in there. And so I basically just use that to refer back to when I need to find a screenshot that they're all in there. Because at one point too, it's like, I'm not going to keep them all on my phone. It's a ton. So I have bazillions of screenshots. I have stuff from the people that are running Brendan's page now to show them that they're horrible people. Tracy Keogh and Monica Boxley, they're horrible. Don't trust them for a second. And I've got tons on both of those ladies. So I have all the screenshots. I took the screenshot when Barb posted in Brendan's group that she actually has the money that everybody has been accusing me of stealing, even though Lisa will still say I stole money. But Barb posted in the last month that she has that money. So yeah, I've got screenshots. Savannah, there's no way possible they are guilty. When people who aren't in the police industry can see all the detail that they were falsely accused just by watching the part one, it's sad. When you get me on the Avery conversation, I get pissed off because it's clear they are innocent. I agree, but the people who are going to say guilty, they claim that making a murderer is one-sided and doesn't have all the information. Correct. Doesn't have all the information. There's a ton that's not in Making a Murderer that also shows they're innocent. Show me what proves they're guilty. And again, with the question I say over and over again, what's the motive? What's Steven's motive? None. So, Gus, do Scott and Bobby still see each other? Have they been showing the pressure? Have they been showing the pressure from the recent accusations against them? I don't have contact with Scott and Bobby now, so I don't know what's going on there now. I do know that Scott and Bobby do still see each other. Bobby is the only child of Barb's that Scott likes. Scott really likes Bobby's kids. Scott doesn't have any kids of his own. He doesn't like kids, but so he sees them on, family get-togethers or holidays or, that. But after the latest Kathleen stuff, I don't know. I'm sure Scott's in a perpetual bad mood. Kathy Ann, what's the guilty group? The project group? Well, I'm going to stop right there at the beginning of that so I can answer that. There's one called Stephen Avery, Innocent or Guilty, SAIG. And so that's one that Carla is in all the time with her guilter buddies. And then whatever Carla's page is called, the Avery Dassey Project. Yeah, so she's got people who think they're guilty as admins or moderators or whatever. So so any page that Carla goes to and the people she talks to, those are the bullshit pages. And then you have now Barb's group for Brendan. That's a bunch of bullshit too, because they won't let you talk about the actual facts there because they're just trying to protect Barb no matter what, instead of go where the facts go. As Stephen says, you know, you go where the evidence goes. So, yeah. So she called it Avery Dassey Project because she was trying to tie her page to Stephen Avery Project. Stephen Avery Project was the first page made after Making a Murderer came out. It was and that's why, you know, it was first and the biggest. And then came Brendan's page that Brendan's sister-in-law, that's married to Blaine Dassey, she started that group. And eventually, so Barb really didn't have anything to do with anything at the start. So then Barb started getting involved in that page, and now it's Tracy and Monica and what other fanatics are in there. So you can't trust that page either. So, you know, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I think Stephen Avery Project. So we have the Stephen Avery Project public page, and then there's the closed group. That's where you're going to get facts. And then now this gossip group is going to be, in my opinion, the only page you're going to get everything. You know, I'm not going to sugarcoat, you know, and you guys are all free to discuss whatever you want in here, except for trying to say the guys are guilty or knocking Zellner. All right, I'll finish, Kathy Ann. I support both men fully and have had several conversations with those that think they're guilty, or at least that Stephen is guilty. I don't bully people myself and have called people out for it prior. I'm 58 years old and don't cotton to bullying. Two of the Stephen is guilty in that project group are no longer there. I don't know of other people that are guilters. Yeah, well, Carla actually has one that she's very proud of that they keep secret. I can't remember her name. So she doesn't post like ever. So she can be a ghost and go everywhere and see everything. So whatever. Josh says, is that decal on your window of a face looking in? I can't stop looking at it, LOL. This was asked the last time I did this. I used to run a haunted house, and that was something that was sold for decorations for Halloween. And it like really freaked people out. And then people had complained about it and tried to discontinue it. So of course I had to get one. And so it was in my haunted house, and now I just have it in my front window because I just think it's funny if, you know, it deters somebody if they were to come up there and scare them. So yeah, that's always in my window. Christy, you tend to want to keep your murder partner close. Yep. Scott and Bobby. Kathy says, wow, I can't believe he likes the kids. It was always said that he hated kids. Scott has a tattoo for the grandkids. So I don't remember what it is, but yeah, so he's got a tattoo for the kids, the grandkids, not the other kids. Leon says, so does Carla think Stephen is guilty? Honestly, she has said at times she thinks he's guilty. But in my opinion, Carla doesn't care. Carla is better off having Stephen in prison, because as long as Stephen's in prison, she's controlling that her group, and she has friends, and she'll go to press and claim she's the spokesperson, even though she's not. Stephen and both Brendan have said over and over again that she doesn't represent them. So she's feeling famous and special. Once Stephen is free, Carla's reign is over. Stephen isn't going to tolerate Carla and her bullshit. You know, every time I've talked to him on the phone, he talks to me about Carla and her bullshit. So, yeah, so I'm sure Carla could care less. She didn't go visit him the first time he was in prison. Family all threw him away. And then when he went in the second time, nobody visited him. Well, except for Barb. Barb and the parents, both times. Barb and the parents would go and visit Stephen. Making a Murderer comes out, and oh, look. Carla, literally, her first visit with Stephen was Christmas Eve. And Making a Murderer had come out the second week of December. So, Carla could give two shits about Stephen. And Carla and Stacy told me that they all hate Stephen. So when he went back in the second time, they were glad to be rid of him. That's what they told me when we were friends. Kathy says, I belong to the family group and the project group. And I know that the project group people are allowed to say lots, but it has to be respectful, which I think is probably a good thing to stop all the drama. I agree. But when the facts are showing family has a part in this, it should be discussed. Because why should you cover up for Barb, Scott, and Bobby when Brendan's in prison for what they possibly did? So isn't that page supposed to be supporting Brendan? Or Carla's page supposed to be Stephen and Brendan? So why would you be defending the people who possibly put him there? Why can't you discuss it? So the family should be off social media. Louise says, I think we all know why Scott and Bobby stay friendly. When the truth comes out, you watch them turn on each other then. Yeah, I know. Kathy says, Zellner is a queen and I love her to pieces for taking his case. Yeah. Kathleen literally lives when I'm out doing errands. Sand, thank you, whoever asked about the picture in the window. I wanted to ask, but stay on task. You don't have to stay on. I appreciate that, Sand, but yeah, you can throw that stuff in here. It doesn't matter. Christy says, who has kids other than Bobby? Brian. Because I met Brian, and Brian had one kid with him. I don't know if there's more than that. So those are the two that have kids. Deborah says, too bad it can't just be about justice and getting them out. Well, that's, again, why the family shouldn't be involved, because they're taking things personally and making it about them and not about the people that are in prison. All right, so I've caught up with everything. I'm going on 2 hours, so I'm going to end it here. So if you ever see any of that stuff, I've answered it in here. You can feel free to post it publicly. Well, it wouldn't be public since gossip is a closed group, but you can post it in here if you want, because again, I have nothing to hide. So I'll answer it on the page, or if you want to private message me, either way, I'll answer your question. You know, if you see something that's posted about me or Amy or Curtis, who started this page, any of the bullshit, ask me, I'll answer. The gossip page, feel free to post what you want. We do have it set that, you know, your posts on there, we have to approve first, because that's like a second protection, making sure we don't have somebody going to post something about the guys being guilty or whatever. So, but we try to get to those posts right away and get your posts up there so you guys can all comment on it. You find something of interest anywhere else, like on Reddit or wherever, you're welcome to share it in Gossip. We ask that you post a link to where you found it, because we want that place to get the credit and possibly the hit if it's a page that's, you know, makes money every time somebody's on that site. Scrolling back down, people saying goodbye and enjoying the weekend. Sean's going to Auto Trader, look for a Sebring convertible. Kathy Ann says, oh, I agree that discussion is needed, but some were really getting out of hand. I just feel we're really getting, I just feel that if they can't do it respectfully, then maybe they need to walk away till calm. Thanks for doing the live video, and again for the invite. I like the openness. Thank you. Rhonda says, thanks, Jax. Have a good holiday weekend. Janet, thank you. Thank you. Leon, you have no need to explain yourself. Thank you for the insights and being so candid. Jess, thank you for accepting me. So thank you all those thanking. Thank you for coming and being a part of this community. I'm not always on, and commenting on every thread. So I love that you guys are all, researching stuff and posting, that then I get to read your stuff, because, I don't know it all. So, and it seems like something new every day. But all right. My boyfriend just went past with the tractor again, still cutting grass. But I'm out. And yes, everybody enjoy your holiday weekend. And when we hear anything about the court, we'll go live again so we can discuss. We post it, the filings as soon as we get it. If you've seen the filing and we don't have it posted here, feel free to post it or message it to us, because you got it first. You go. Great job on you. Send it on our way so we can get it posted too. And that is that. Oh, Gus, is it okay to send Stephen a letter of support? Is there an official address? Thank you for your time. Yes, there is an official address. I don't know if Christy's still on here to post it for you. We do have it. So like on Stephen Avery Project, we have something that's pinned at the top of the page. And in there is the address on how to mail letters to both Stephen and Brendan. And then how to donate money to Zellner, all that stuff's in a pinned post. When you send a letter to Stephen or Brendan, make sure your letter inside also has your return address on it, because the prison does open the envelope and they could mangle your return address. And so if Stephen or Brendan were to write you back, they might not have your return address if it wasn't included inside there. So put it inside. Stephen doesn't write to a whole lot of people. He doesn't like writing. Brendan writes back to a lot of people. So it's hit or miss with Stephen, but I say that you're not writing to Stephen to get a letter back. So yeah, send him your support. Tell him where you're from, because he likes learning about, how he has supporters from all over. I have, when I've sent letters to Stephen and Brendan, I typically, type it on my computer and then I print it out. So I've included pictures, that I've printed from online. So like, Brendan had talked to me at one point, that he wants a tattoo and he wants a dragon tattoo. So he had me send him. So I looked up a whole bunch of different dragon tattoos and copied those pictures and printed them out and mailed those to Brendan. And that's why too, Amy and I have another group that's called Wrongfully Abused. And so the logo on the cover picture of that are dragons because of Brendan. That's when we were no longer with Brendan and we were all sad. And so we made that as a remembering Brendan. So you could print out a picture of your house of, because I've done that before where my dogs and, all that stuff, to send them pictures of that. They enjoy that stuff. I just ask people not to talk about the case, don't ask them questions about the case, all that stuff, because also know any correspondence is being read by other people, just like every phone call is being recorded and being listened to. So don't try to get that information. Send a letter of support and talk, tell about yourself and your life. And Stephen likes, working on cars and he likes fishing. So you can talk to Stephen about those things. You could talk to Brendan about, he really loves wrestling, as everybody knows. So you can talk to Brendan about wrestling. You can ask them about what shows they watch, because they both watch TV. So, so if they write you back, maybe they'll tell you about a show they watch and maybe you watch it too. And so that'll be something you can discuss with them, is that, those kinds of things, so I try to, when I talk to them, you're trying to get their head out of where they're at, so like Kent Pellegrini, when I talked to him before he was in prison for his job, he literally traveled the world. So I talked to him, I asked him, and I've been to Canada, but I've never really been out of the country or gone anywhere. So I asked him a lot of questions about his travels, and that helps get him out of thinking about his case for a little bit, of where he's talking about, he really liked here and, that kind of stuff. So yeah, so I highly recommend writing to them. All right, so I'm down at the bottom again. I just keep yammering 2 freaking hours. I'm sorry, people, that these things go on so long. And to everybody who's now going to watch this later that it's not live, I'm sorry it's 2 hours. So, all right, I'm going to end it now, like I already said, and then went off on something else. Have a great holiday weekend, and we will talk soon. Bye-bye.